Ciao everyone and welcome to the analysis of the song that ranked 21st at the Sanremo Music Festival 2026. I am talking about La felicità e basta by Maria Antonietta e Colombre. So in this case there is a duo involved in the song. As usual, we start with a translation of the title, which is Happiness and That's It. So I could say a lot about basta because for some reason which I don't really understand, it became quite popular as an Italian term that you cannot translate. So, just to give you a reference, basta comes from the verb bastare, which literally means to be enough. For example, questo mi basta, there is enough for me. And of course, we have it as an exclamation. So if the verb bastare, to be enough, is, a verb, the exclamation is going to be stop. Because when you had enough of something or someone, you want that something or someone to stop, no? So when you say basta, it means stop it, that's enough. I wouldn't really say that this is an untranslatable word because you know how viral this type of content goes about, oh my god, my language is so good that you cannot translate certain terms. Well, of course, there will be terms that are deeply cultural, so you can't really translate them into other languages. Classic examples are, for example, dishes. There you go. But also idiomatic expressions, saying, oh, look, this is an untranslatable word, and then it is a fixed expression, an idiomatic expression, or even a collocation, because the whole point of collocation is that they are deeply related to the syntax of a language. So, of course, while I can have similar syntax or similar collocations in two languages from the same family, for example, from the Latin family, so those languages coming from Latin, for example, Italian and French, or Romanian, or Spanish, or Portuguese. Okay, in those cases, there are more chances to have similar syntax, similar expressions, similar collocation, even similar idiomatic expressions. However, it is already hard between languages or among languages from the same families. Imagine from languages from different families. So imagine a comparison between English, which is, yes, it received heavy influences from first Latin and then French, but it's still a Germanic language, technically, or German, okay, or any Slavic language. Of course, it will be harder to have the same collocation, the same idiomatic expression, and even exclamation, because you can have exclamations that are exactly the same, literally wise, but have different meanings. We are going also to see this in this song, because this song, lyrics wise, linguistically wise, it is very interesting and very rich. Now, the thing, however, is that it is unrealistic to expect to have a direct translation or exactly matching translation. This, I wouldn't say that it is untranslatable. It will have a translation that is slightly different, but the concept is exactly the same. There will be, of course, terms that change according to the context and will have thus different translation according to the context. For example, basta, which can be that's it. Any meaning of enough, okay? In this case, it is la felicità e basta, so happiness and that's it. So I don't need anything else because happiness is enough. That's why I translated it, that's it. Or in other contexts, it can be enough. So like I had enough. In fact, basta, when you tell it to someone, as in stop it, can be easily translated in English as enough. That's enough. and it is very close to the meaning. So I really don't understand why there is this viral thing about saying that basta in Italian is untranslatable. But let me know what you think in the comments. Anyway, that said, so we start well with the title. We also have several notes concerning the meaning. Why? Because the meaning is not, first of all, the song is not the classic song that we can find at Sanremo Music Festival, so the love song. Specifically, what did the author state about the meaning of their song? First of all, they said, it's not a love song, as I was explaining. Secondly, come to think of it, happiness isn't a race or a prize, like a reward. It's everybody's right. If you are alive, it belongs to you. So it is your right to have access to happiness. And since we are alive, let's claim it. This was the official explanation they gave. Then we have other statements released during interviews. One interview was released at TV Sorrisi e Canzoni. It is a magazine we spoke several times about. And they said, so the song came to mind, was born in the kitchen after a karaoke night. This was explained by Maria Antonietta, because it is a duo, but is a duo of two solo artists, okay? Maria Antonietta said, it wasn't written with the festival in mind because this is not frowned upon, but it is very common to create a song specifically for Sanremo. So having in mind that this song is going to be performed on the Sanremo stage, which it is a strategy and it is understandable. Also, she said, I do my best work when I don't try too hard. Then, always about the song, it's about happiness, which is everyone's right, not a prize to be won in a competition against others, yourself, or world's expectations. If we are alive, we deserve to be happy, and if not, you have to do something unspeakable. This was said by Colombre. That's where the robbery metaphor, which we are going to see in the lyrics, comes in. I'm just going to take happiness for myself. And then we have a third statement that I thought was relevant. This was in an interview to Elle. Don't worry, I'm going to put everything in the description, all the sources in the description. The fact that happiness is viewed as the reward of being high-performing and successful is merely an extreme offshoot of turbo-capitalism. Happiness should be a human right from birth. So this is the concept. Everybody should have access to happiness. But what is exactly happiness? What do they mean when they say happiness? Because, of course, happiness is very subjective. We are going to see it in a moment in the lyrics. First, however, as usual, let's check what Lorenzo Coveri said in his analysis. So, Lorenzo Coveri says, Letizia Cesarini, 38 years old, by the way, I recommend going to watch their performance live and the video and tell me if they look the age I'm about to say. So, Letizia Cesarini, 38 years old, known as Maria Antonietta, like the Queen of France, and Giovanni Imparato, 43 years old, known as Colombre, after the mythical sea creature from a fine short story by Dino Buzzati, are a couple in real life as well as in music. Hailing from the Marche region, they are making their Sanremo debut following long careers in indie scene, including mainly solo work, with the song La felicità e basta, produced by the artists themselves alongside expert producer Francesco Catitti. So, and about the meaning, happiness alone is enough to counter the idols of money and success. The duo writes in a song with a complex structure that blends provocative statements, snatches of direct speech, and allusions to the fetishes of luxury and pop culture. It is a thoroughly contemporary track. And in fact, you might have noticed that this point of view was this review was kinda positive, and in fact, this is the last song of the 3 I mentioned in the previous video who got the highest grade in the whole festival. Generally in Italy, as I said several times, we grade from 1 to 10. This track got a 7.80, and it is, alongside 2 other songs, the highest grade given in this festival. And generally, for the average of grades given by Lorenzo Coveri, this is a very good result. And in fact, I do agree on the fact that this song is one of the best of Sanremo Music Festival. However, the 2 singers are very niche. So, of course, Sanremo Music Festival, it is also, and sometimes even mainly, about how well received you are from the public, how famous you are already when you arrive on the stage, how many followers you have on the social media, how active you are on social media, how good is your public persona, okay? Since they were very niche, despite the song being, at least for the lyrics, for the music is not my field, the lyrics were very good objectively, but they ranked very low because, as I said, this song ranked 21st and we had 30 participants, so it ranked very, very low. It's a bit sad, but to be fair, I expected it a bit since, again, they are very niche, so I didn't have great expectations, but it's fine. Like, I'm happy that at least they participated and they got called to perform on Sanremo Festival stage. But let's talk and let's see the lyrics. So, the structure is pretty much, at least at first glance, very common. So we have verse, pre-chorus, verse, pre-chorus, and then pre-chorus, and then chorus again, and then an instrumental bridge and an outro. So yeah, it is quite canonical, but still a bit peculiar. Also because generally the classic song, it is verse, pre-chorus, chorus, or like verse, chorus, and then a bridge and the chorus again. Generally, the chorus never changes. Here, despite not having big changes, we still have small changes here and there, but at least I appreciate this variety. So, let's check these lyrics. First verse. È più facile perdonarci se tieni a mente, siamo tutti debuttanti. Sii te stessa e andrà tutto bene, diceva la supermodella con la pelle splendida. So we start with an attack concerning the fact that you deserve to be happy only if you meet several criterias. Why? Because the first part of this first verse means it's easier to forgive ourselves if we keep in mind that we are all first timers. Because if you think about it, it's not that you can live life generally, unless Isekai is going to become real, but generally you live life only once. So when we live, we are all first timers. So it's easier to show compassion to ourselves if we keep in mind that we don't have all the answers to life. And then be yourself and everything will be fine. However, this is a quote and is like said by the supermodel with the gorgeous skin. What does it mean? It's easy to say, oh, don't worry, just be yourself and everything is going to be fine, which is a little bit incoherent. We have a little bit of hypocrisy if saying this is who? A supermodel. So the supermodel is the example of what is canonically accepted by the standard of the society, who is beautiful. Like, so easy to, you can interpret this statement in two ways. It's easy to say be yourself and everything is going to be fine if you are someone who is compliant with the standard of society, or this statement is a perfect example of hypocrisy, for the simple fact that why do you say be yourself and everything is going to be fine if you are clearly showing that you are living the good life only because you adapted to the standard of society. So you are by definition not being yourself. Also, a little note, syntactically speaking, se tieni a mente siamo tutti debuttanti implies a che, because it would be se tieni a mente che, if you keep in mind, because here it is an impersonal use, so we can actually use it as in English. So if you keep in mind that we are all first timers, and here it is se tieni a mente che, so if you keep in mind that, but in Italian it is implied. I am stressing this out because while in English you can imply, so if you say if we keep in mind we are all first timer works. Normally in Italian you have to be explicit with the declarative che, so declarative that, because generally it is not correct. It is not considered correct if you imply it. Of course, here we are talking about, once again, lyrics, so there is more freedom and more flexibility concerning this. Also because they clearly know what they are doing, since Colombre is, well, how can I say, a professor of literature, so I think he knows what he's doing. Then we have the second part of this first verse. Quanto è bello essere te stessa sulle spiagge dei Caraibi e tu piangi sui diamanti in bikini tra i coralli. Da quella chaise longue di pelle bianca la tua vita non ti stanca. So here again they keep stressing and they keep providing the image of this supermodel. So how wonderful it is to be yourself on Caribbean beaches. And you weep over diamonds in a bikini amidst coral. From that white leather deck chair, your life does not tire you out. So again, easy to be yourself where, well, you already have it easy. So here the start of the song is an attack towards all those people about, don't worry, just work hard, no pain, no gain, and they are clearly born privileged and they look like they deserved it because they earned it. And if you put effort in what you do, you will also reach this point because clearly happiness has to be deserved. Happiness is deserved by all of those who are working hard, and clearly they are working hard. Of course, this is not true. This is a hidden privilege. So they didn't work hard, they just were born lucky. So easy, no problem. Easy to have a perfect life if you were born lucky. And thus, actually, everybody should have access to happiness. Now, you might think, oh, Silvia, but this doesn't feel like Italian, chaise longue. Well, of course not. It is French, in fact. So, is it true that in Italian we don't have a term for the deck chair, so those long chairs that you have when you want to sunbathe? Do we really need to use a loan word from French? No, we actually have a term in Italian which is sedia sdraio, which is literally la sedia su cui ti sdrai, so the chair on which you sit, basically. You elongate yourself on. And but why, Silvia, didn't they use why they didn't use the sedia sdraio, so the Italian term? Well, first of all, because it was too long. Here if you say da quella chaise longue di pelle bianca, it's much shorter because we have less syllables. If we had to use the Italian term, would have been da quella sedia sdraio di pelle bianca. It is longer and it is much harsher to say. So this way, by borrowing the French, the whole line becomes much more fluent, much smoother. That's why they used it. But we actually have the term in Italian. And then we have the pre-chorus. So what is this happiness? Ma se abbiamo sete, abbiamo fame o siamo soli, la colpa non è nostra, non sono i nostri errori. Non è così? I love you baby. Non posso arrendermi. I love you baby. Passo a prenderti. So, but if we are thirsty, hungry, or alone, it's not our fault. It's not our mistakes. That's not how it is. I love you, baby. I can't give up. I love you, baby. I'm coming to pick you up. So, here I saw that in some translations you will see this first line translated as but if we are thirsty, hungry, or lonely. Now, why? Because in Italian we don't have the difference, we don't have two different terms to say alone and lonely. Essere solo can be to be alone or can be lonely. Here I translated it as alone because of the meaning of the song. So, the meaning of the song is not really about being lonely, so feeling lonely, it's more about being abandoned. So, what is happiness? Happiness is having access to the basic rights. Access to water. In fact, se abbiamo sete, literally in Italian you can have thirst, have hunger, and so on and so on. In English, generally you say, I am thirsty, I am hungry. That's why I translated it like that. We have sono assetato, sono affamato, and so on and so on, but of course it's much longer and more complex to pronounce, and it is much more common to just say ho sete, ho fame, and so on. So, what are these basics of happiness? To have access to water, to have access to food, and to not be abandoned. That's why I translated it as alone. And then you could say, but Silvia, is not really correct also to say, like, to blame our issues on others. Well, first of all, is also why I didn't translate with lonely, because you know that on the internet now we have all these main loneliness crisis. That does not is not the point here. Here it's about human beings being abandoned by society, so not receiving basic help and having respected their human rights. And you could say, oh, but that's not fair because, yes, of course, there are people who are privileged, but it's not like you can wait for happiness to rain from the sky, to just happen. And in fact, in this song, that is the point. Yes, it's not your fault if you are not being born privileged. It is unfair because privilege takes away from others people's right. So it should be your human right to have access to basic help from other human beings and basic having your basic needs satisfied. So water, food, and general help from others, from society. It's not your fault. It's not a mistake that you made if you were born in this situation. But they say you can't give up. I'm coming to pick you up. Why? Because in the chorus they say, baby, facciamo insieme una rapina. Baby, per riprenderci tutta la nostra vita. Cosa credi? Credo che la felicità ce la prendiamo e basta. Repeat it 2 times. So, it's not that, oh, that's unfair, I'll just keep complaining. No. Baby, I am picking you up because let's pull off a robbery together. Baby, to take back our whole lives. What do you think? I think that happiness, we can take it, and that's it. And that's enough. This is everything we need to do. We should do. We have any right to be happy. Let's steal it from other. Let's steal it from privileged people. That's why a robbery. Also, we have these English words being repeated, which I think it's giving a little bit the Bonnie and Clyde sort of situation, because then we have the metaphor of the robbery. Fun fact, rapina as a word is very uncommon in Sanremo Music Festival. It is a very rare word. In fact, Lorenzo Coveri explained that there is only one famous occurrence in Sanremo Music Festival of this word, which is in 1977, a title of a track by Chaos Rock. So this is how uncommon this word is. And then we have a so-called left dislocation structure, typical of spoken Italian, because there is a repetition. So normally you could say, credo che la felicità possiamo prenderla e basta. You can also say, prendiamola e basta la felicità. There are several ways to structure the syntax of this sentence. Specifically here, instead of saying credo che la felicità la prendiamo e basta, there is a repetition, ce la prendiamo e basta. Because I was saying, you see that despite the lyrics being quite elevated and complex, they still try to use a familiar and colloquial register. That's why we have this type of syntax all over the song. And then we have the second verse. È più facile se siamo insieme. Mi difendo molto meglio dalle ansie passeggere e dai pensieri nella testa. Fare meglio, più convinta, come diceva quella popstar sorridente in Valentino, e a volte mi sento molto stanca e non riesco a tenere la testa alta. So, it's easier if we are together. Then implied, when we are together, I defend myself much better. Against what? Fleeting anxieties and the thoughts in my head. And then another quote, do better, with more conviction. Like that smiling pop star in Valentino used to say, and sometimes, this is a quote of what this ideal pop star in Valentino is saying, and sometimes I feel very tired and I can't keep my head held high. So here again, it is related to what was said in the first verse. So this whole society we are living in makes us think that we need to prove that we are worthy of happiness. Of course, who's trying to convince us that no pain, no gain? Generally, people who are born privileged and don't have health issues, don't have money issues, don't have family issues. They are basically what is considered standard in the society. So it is easy for them to have the good life, to be happy, because they are not going against the society. Keep in mind that both Maria Antonietta and Colombre come from a background as solo artists, a little bit punk, more Maria Antonietta probably, but generally they are from the side of those going against the flow, against the crowd, against the standard. That's why they decided to bring this track. And in fact, they are quoting, do better with more conviction. Who is telling you that? The social media influencers already having the easy life, telling you struggling, oh, you just need to do better, to manifest more, to think more about it, and then you will be worthy of being happy. Of course, doesn't work like that. And then they quote this smiling pop star in Valentino saying, oh, sometimes I feel very tired and I can't keep my head held high. And then we have the pre-chorus. Now, the pre-chorus this time doesn't really change much, because they keep saying, ma se abbiamo sete, abbiamo fame o siamo soli, la colpa non è nostra, non sono i nostri errori, non è così, I love you baby, passo a prenderti. So, but if we are thirsty, hungry, or alone, it's not our fault, it's not our mistakes, it's not like that. I love you, baby, I'm coming to pick you up. The only difference, if compared to the previous pre-chorus, is that there is one line missing, or like one line got cut between these two lines, which is non posso arrendermi, I love you, baby. So not much, but still a change. The big change, or at least a bigger change, comes in the chorus, because to the first section of the chorus, a second one is being added. So just like before, and the first section is exactly the same as the previous chorus, baby, facciamo insieme una rapina, baby, per riprenderci tutta la nostra vita, che cosa credi? Credo che la felicità ce la prendiamo e basta. This is the same, so baby, let's pull off a robbery together, baby, to take back our whole lives. What do you think? I think that happiness, we can take it, and that's it. But to that, we have to add a second part. Baby, dall'ansia di un'aspettativa. Baby, scappiamo questo sabato mattina. Che cosa credi? Credo che la felicità ce la prendiamo e basta. So, this part is the same. So what do you think? I think that happiness, we can take it, and that's it. What changes is these first two lines, because they say, baby, from the anxiety of expectation, baby, let's run away this Saturday morning. And then we have the pre-chorus. This time the pre-chorus is even more cut, and we have a different second line, which is even harsher. Se abbiamo sete, abbiamo fame o siamo soli, la colpa non è nostra, non siamo dei coglioni. If we are thirsty, hungry or alone, it's not our fault. And instead of saying non sono i nostri errori, so it's not our mistakes, it's not us, because if you remember here, non sono i nostri errori, it's not our mistakes. We have non siamo dei coglioni. What does it mean in Italian? Well, coglioni is a quite heavy swear word, and it means we aren't dumbasses. Now, I saw that there are instances where coglioni, plural, or coglione, singular, it is being translated as asshole. I don't agree about it. So, first of all, etymologically speaking, coglione is the testicle, okay? Plural, coglioni, it is testicles, but the vulgar way, the swear word, okay, related to this concept. And generally, when in English you say someone is an asshole, in Italian it would be more like stronzo or stronza, like someone evil, annoying, and whatnot. If you say to someone in Italian, sei proprio un coglione, it is more like you're really a dumbass, like you're stupid. That's why they say non siamo dei coglioni. We aren't dumbasses. Like, it's not that we are failing at life and we are not given automatically this happiness because we are doing it on purpose, because we are stupid, because we are incapable. It's simply because we are not privileged. And so we have again the chorus, baby, facciamo insieme una rapina. Baby, per riprenderci tutta la nostra vita. Che cosa credi? Credo che la felicità ce la prendiamo e basta. This is exactly the same as before. Baby, let's pull off a robbery together. Baby, to take back our whole lives. What do you think? I think that happiness, we can take it. And that's it. And then we have, again, a second section that is being added, but this time there is only one line changing, which is baby, dalla tristezza che è infinita, baby, scappiamo questo sabato mattina. Then the rest is exactly the same. So, again, previously we also had scappiamo questo sabato mattina, let's run away this Saturday morning. But from what are we running away this time? Dalla tristezza che è infinita. From the sadness, which is infinite. So away, let's run away, baby, away from this endless sadness. Let's run away this Saturday morning. And then we end with in the song an instrumental bridge leading to the outro, which is pretty much the same as the chorus, at least for this part, because credo che la felicità ce la prendiamo e basta, repeated 2 times, so I think that happiness, I love you baby, we can take it and that's it. But then we have this new line, which is baby, siamo ancora in piedi, I love you baby. So baby, we are still standing. And that was everything for the lyrics. So, what else about it? We said pretty much everything concerning the lyrics and the general meaning of the song. So, there will be in this society privileged people telling you that you need to deserve happiness, because if you don't put enough effort, it's on you that you are unhappy, because of course it is in their interest, making you think that the reason why you don't have access to basic rights is your fault, because this way they won't have to renounce to their privilege. So it is generally a critic to society. So let's do a robbery, taking from the rich, taking from the privileged the happiness that we are expected to have, that we have right to. Then, what about the tea? Because this time I have some tea. Okay, so, as said, these 2 artists, so as we said before, I'm just repeating, Maria Antonietta, whose real name is Letizia Cesarini, and Colombre, whose real name is Giovanni Imparato, are also a couple in real life. Now, some people, not very smart, started to say and mock them, saying that they are the cheap version of the Comacose. Comacose is a duo we saw last year in 2025 for performing Cuoricini at Sanremo Music Festival 2025, which is very funny because their whole brand as a duo was that they were husband and wife, and they were so happy, and they were making all of their songs about their marriage, and then last year, after doing Sanremo Music Festival, they divorced, which is, of course, we don't laugh of others people unhappy endings, but still it was a bit ironic, let's put it like that. And many people said, oh, look, they're just cosplaying Comacose because they got together and they are mimicking songs about love like them. First of all, it's funny because they were very clear about the fact since the beginning that this is not, in fact, a love song. This is not about them. Of course, there is their chemistry, their harmony as a couple, but it's not the whole point of the song, like it was for Comacose. And also, the whole thing doesn't make sense because Letizia and Giovanni, so Maria Antonietta and Colombre, have been together for 16 years. So I'm talking about since 2010, okay? Comacose met in 2014, so 4 years later, and they already broke up. So, guys, please. If we really want, Letizia and Giovanni are the OG, but whatever. So, same thing. Oh, but because they are copying the Comacose as artists. Me? If we take Letizia and Giovanni, if of course they started as solo artists, they are mainly solo artists. In fact, their first album came out or is coming out, I don't remember, this year. But this doesn't take away that their musical career started much earlier. I'm talking about Letizia, so Maria Antonietta, who started in 2010. Okay, so basically they met around when Letizia started to become a musician, and then the debut of Giovanni was in 2017. If we take the Comacose, the ex-husband started his musical career in 2010, so same moment as Letizia, while the ex-wife started in 2016, so 1 year before Giovanni. So more or less they started as solo artists around the same time as Letizia and Giovanni, if taken solo. But also their background, and in fact also the song, is very different. In fact, we are talking about Maria Antonietta, who, as you might have noticed from her stage name, is very passionate about history of art, so art history. And in fact, their video is even shot in a museum in Turin, if I remember correctly, because of course we have very good museums. While Giovanni is a professor of literature, as I was saying before. And we can see that again in his stage name. So what is a Colombre? So Giovanni Imparato chose Colombre as his stage name after the fantastical creature created by Dino Buzzati in his 1966 short story with the same name. What is a Colombre? It is a mysterious sea monster, a symbol of inner fears and missed opportunities, invisible to everyone except its chosen victim. I'm not going to spoiler you how the story ends if you want to read it, but yeah, like the background, of course, it is different. Also, the difference is mainly in the fact that they are much more niche, and as I said several times, they are mainly solo artists. So yes, they've been together for a long time, but they weren't, that was basically their debut as a duo. But again, they have very solid careers as a solo artist. So, this is pretty much everything I had to say concerning La felicità e basta by Maria Antonietta and Colombre. Let me know in the comments what you think about this song. I hope you enjoyed. Grazie everyone for watching and arrivederci.